Alright, so right now we're going to do synthetic division. And instead of doing just regular synthetic division, I wanted to do one with a radical because students have a real hard time figuring out what it's trying to get them to do. And so one thing you got to be very careful when you have multiple pieces, whether they're radicals or whether they're imaginaries, you need to give yourself plenty of space. So as we set up the synthetic division, remember you're going to make it one line, another line just below it, and then a line that goes vertically next to them. Make sure it's plenty long because these are going to take extra space to right them out. Okay? So the way we set up synthetic is this is what we're going to be dividing by. So that's your 1 minus square root of 5. All right. And then this is going to be what goes on the top row. But remember, when you write out synthetic, you cannot be missing any exponents. So we have an x to the 4th, we're missing an x cubed, an x squared, and an x. We do have the constant. You've got to be careful if you're ever missing the constant. You've got to make sure it's staying there. All right, so for the x to the 4th, its coefficient is 1. I'm going to leave extra space more than I normally do. So x cubed, its coefficient is 0. Leave extra space, x squared's coefficient is 0. X's coefficient is 0. And my constant is negative 16. Again, you want to give it plenty of space because of this radical. If it were an imaginary, same thing. Anytime it has more than one piece inside. Okay. With synthetic, this one will always fall down. Okay. And then we're going to start with the actual synthetic. So if you want more in-depth explanation of synthetic and how to set it up, etc., there is a separate video on synthetic. This is mainly making sure we can do it with the radicals. So the first step, we'll put it over here. Our first step is actually go up here. It is going to be multiply. And when you have multiple pieces, write out your steps. Write out what you're doing and why you're doing it. So when we're multiplying, we're going to take 1 times 1 minus square root of 5. Okay. So 1 times that is just itself. And then we're going to add. We're going to add the top plus the middle. That's going to give us 1 minus the square root of 5. Okay. Next step, so step 2 was add. Okay. Next step, we're going to multiply again, and this is where it gets more difficult. So when we multiply again, this is going to be step 3. When we multiply, we're going to get the bottom, or I'm sorry, the outside. I tend to start with the outside. 1 minus square root of 5 times the bottom. 1 minus square root of 5. So I'm going to write that out here. Okay. 1 times 1. 1 times negative square root of 5. Negative square root of 5 times 1. Negative square root of 5 times negative square root of 5 is a positive square root squared. Those are going to cancel and leave just the 5 left over. Okay? It's going to give us 1 minus. If I have 1 square root and another square root, I'm going to have 2 square roots plus 5. Combine the 1 and the 5, you're going to end up with 6 minus 2 square roots of 5. Okay? So we would FOIL that to get the answer. Okay. Next step, it's going to be add. So this was the third one. To add, we're going to do 0 plus the middle answer. 6 minus 2 square root of 5. Well, 0 plus anything is it. So we have 6 minus 2 square roots of 5. For the next column, we're going to multiply. We're going to do our outside times our bottom. 1 minus square root of 5 times 6 minus 2 square roots of 5. Okay, so I'm going to do that down here. That's step number, the fifth piece. One times 6, 1 times negative 2 square root of 5, negative square root of 5 times 6, and negative square root of 5 times negative 2 square root of 5. It's going to be positive 2 square root squared, leaving you 2 times 5. It is 2 times the square root, so it will be 2 times the inside. 6 falls, minus 2 minus 6, negative 8 square root of 5, and 2 times 5, positive 10. 6 plus 10 is 16, minus 8 square root of 5. Okay, so that's that multiplying. I'm going to go ahead and erase the 2 multiplications at the bottom just for the sake of space. So that I can do my addition, and then I have one more multiplication and another addition to go. But anytime you're multiplying by either imaginaries or the radicals, with synthetic, you're going to have to do the foiling. Next we add, so we're going to do 0 at the very top, plus the middle number, which is 16 minus 8 square root of 5. 0 plus anything is anything. For this step up here, we're going to multiply the outside times the lowest number. So I have 1 minus root 5 times 16 minus 8 root 5. So we kind of see what I meant by you need a lot of space for these. I'm going to multiply that again down here. 1 minus square root of 5 times 16 minus 8 square root of 5. 1 times 16. 1 times negative 8 square roots of 5. Square root of 5 times 16 is negative 16 root 5. And negative radical times negative 8 is positive 8 radical squared. So it's going to leave just a 5. It was 8 times the radical, so we need to make sure we keep that multiplication. Becomes 16 minus 8 minus 16 is 24 root 5. Plus 8 times 5 is 40. 16 plus 40, 56 minus 24 square root 5. Okay. And then the last step is going to be adding. So we're going to add negative 16. We actually have something other than a 0 here. Negative 16 plus 56 minus 24 square root of 5. 16 and 56, that's going to leave us with 40 minus 24 square root of 5. So that's the actual synthetic. But your last step is going to be to determine what your answer is. So when we're determining our answer, we're going to look at this bottom row. The very last one is always your remainder. Okay, so the last one's always your remainder, because anytime I'm determining my answer, I always start from the very end, start from the remainder. Then I know the next number over, that's going to be the constant for my equation. The next number over is going to be my x squared, and my x cubed. Notice we started with an x to the 4th. It should always go down by 1. Your degree should always decrease. Okay, so our answer, our q of x, 1x cubed plus 1 minus root 5 x squared plus 6 minus 2 root 5 x plus 16 minus 8 square root of 5. For anything with a variable, make sure it stays in parentheses. That way both pieces apply to the variable. Okay? So at the end, you're just going to assign your variables to them, put the pieces in parentheses with the variable right outside the parentheses. Okay. And then it's synthetic division with a radical. Okay. Sorry for the random talking you heard. There's a 3-year-old with us today.